All right, here we go. Hey, I'm Dr. Aziz, and I'm here with a very special man, Dave Osofsky. And Dave is an inspiring man, and in general, he is. And more recently, some major breakthroughs in his physical health have led me to say, wait a minute, success leaves clues. And if you're able to make a significant change, that's going to teach us a lot, not just about how to create a goal with our physical health or our fitness, but just our goals in life in general. So thank you, Dave, for taking the time to share with us today. And we can see if we can
Absolutely.
glean some wisdom from your experience, man.
I hope so. Hope I
Awesome.
can give something of value.
I'm sure. I'm sure. It's all in there, So,
Yeah.
okay. People look at you now
Mhm.
and they don't see the Dave of a year ago or 3 years ago or something like that. So just so people know kind of what the shift was, like what was the transition? What was the transformation in your health over this last 12 months, I'd say about?
Well, it's funny because it's about a year since COVID hit, and around that time, you know, for the last 20 years or so, well, my weight's kind of fluctuated in a certain range and kind of stayed in that same area. I'd lose 20 pounds, regain 30, lose 40, regain 30, and on and on. And then
Those are
when
actually pretty
COVID,
big swings though, right? So to
yeah,
lose
they can
30
be over time.
pounds, you must be doing a lot of stuff to lose 30 pounds, like some fair amount of effort or
Yeah, and various methods over time. I've tried everything over the years: keto, veganism, whole food, plant based, which is what eventually as part of my new lifestyle has worked for me. But in the past, I failed at it just as much as everything else I've done.
Mhm.
Um, and so so yeah, when COVID hit, I was extremely overweight. I was worried about my health. I decided I was going to lose some weight, and I did that for about 3 months. March through June of last year, I probably lost 30 pounds again, and then by August, I had regained that plus some. Just kind of got worn down worrying about it, and just went back to my normal habits. And so I turned 46 in August, and I decided, I'm going to get this resolved by the end of the year. I'm done with this. I'm not going to hit another birthday and be extremely overweight. So on
Mhm.
August 31st, I started a diet. There was a coach that I'd been kind of following through podcasts and online for a while. Tracked him down, hired him to basically walk me through it, help me change my lifestyle. And over the last 6 months, that's what we've done.
Wow. So there's a lot in there. Okay, so you um had been gaining and losing this same 20, 30 pounds
Mhm.
for decades?
Yes, I mean, so I was a really skinny kid, so much so that my parents would take me to the doctor, worried about my weight, asking the doctor if I needed to,
Mm.
eat more. Um, and I think maybe some of the habits that I developed then, being kind of like encouraged to overeat, may have had some negative effect. But I started gaining weight when I was around 12, and I was a fat teenager, became a fat adult, and have never been you know much below about 240 or so. And I'm 5'11", so I've never been much below 240 since as an adult, and until very recently.
Yeah. So I'm curious, you had this experience of kind of going up and down. Whenever you'd start that, like, okay, I'm gonna lose the weight again, was there a part of you that felt like, yeah, right, like this time I'm just gonna gain it back? Like, did you believe each time that this was gonna be different, or did some part of you was somewhere always holding back, kind of knowing that I'm
Um,
not gonna make it?
I think it was always very hard to imagine myself different. Like, I would say that when I started, obviously, I thought that I was going to succeed enough that it was worth the effort of making the start. If I just decided this is hopeless and it's not worth the effort, I probably wouldn't have even bothered trying.
Right.
But there was probably a part of me that just never could see myself not as a fat person. And
Yeah.
so I always kind of in the back of my mind wondered, like, when am I going to screw up, or what's going to happen? It was really just trying to picture myself, at my goal.
Yeah. I mean, that highlights something so interesting about our identity, right? Like, this
Mm,
is how I am. It's hard to see myself as significantly different. And then you have a certain, like, at some point, you've lived more years in that identity than you have not. And so it's sort of like, wow, this is the majority of my life that I've been this
yeah.
way. And so this is how it is. Um, and so yeah, that cycle repeats. I think everyone can relate to that in some way, shape, or form, some identity that feels familiar. But then something happened. You said it was 46th birthday, gained the weight back again, and you said like, that's it, like enough. I'm gonna have this resolved by the end of the year. Did it feel different than previous times you decided? Was there a significant sense of it being different?
Pro- Not probably on that first day, but I knew I was going to, I'd already reached out to the
Hmm.
coach, I believe. I hadn't heard back from him, but I knew that was what I was going to pursue.
Hmm.
And so once we hooked up, and I paid some money,
Hmm.
that's kind of when that's kind of when I knew I'm going to finish this. But
Yeah.
and that was probably like about 10 days to 2 weeks after I'd started on my own.
Uh-huh.
And so probably those first 2 weeks were probably just like pretty similar to every other
Every other time.
attempt. Yeah, every other time.
Had in the previous attempts, had you ever hired a coach
Never,
before? Wow.
never.
Wow. So this is, we talk a lot about in our community the idea of the lone wolf, right?
Mm.
And I'm going to do it myself. And then there's that lone wolf cycle, which you see me. I talk about it all the time with people because it's so relevant. Here, I'll just pull it up real quick so we can show it to others here. Where is it? Here it is. So let me share my screen. So this is the lone wolf, typical lone wolf progress, where we get some momentum, and this could be your weight, right? Weight loss, lose weight, gain it back, lose weight, gain it back. We get momentum, it goes up and down, up and down, up and down. And I don't think that's unique to you or to me. That's not unique to our physical health. That's like a human property. So the decision, in a way, like, it started with, I'm going to do this again, but like the real commitment began when you decided, I'm going to invest in myself, and
Yeah,
I'm gonna
exactly.
get this coaching. And you and I both have benefited greatly in our lives from coaching.
Hmm.
And so you kind of start to see, wait a minute, there's a pattern here.
Yeah,
And
and speaking of pattern, that's what I was just going to say is, when how I found you is, what, now 5 years, 4 or 5 years ago now, I read one of your books, The Solution to Social Anxiety. Like, I like this guy, I like what he's saying. I followed you, and then I saw an email you sent. I called you, and I reached out to you about the mastermind group and said, hey, I want to be part of this. And that's exactly what I did with this. The
yeah.
guy I coached with, he is an author of this book right here, The Health Span Solution. Um, he helped Penn Jillette from Penn and Teller comedy duo who's
Uh-huh.
over 100 pounds, which is how I first heard of him, from Penn's book.
Oh,
And
cool.
so I'm like, well, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to track this guy down and see if he'll coach me.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of that's something that I've come to believe in for sure. Is that you have to immerse yourself, invest in yourself. It's so hard to make permanent lifestyle changes on your own. There's the whole world is has a different story, and everybody is telling you something different.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think we bump up against our own fear, discomfort, our own, an emotion I don't want to feel, a discomfort I don't want to withstand. I'm going to run from this feeling, whatever it is. And it's so, if it's just you and you, it's hard. It's hard to really hold that line of why we want it and why it's so important for, because the real changes to happen over long periods of time, right? Months, years. So to hold that line over, I think on our own, we're much more kind of like fickle creatures. We're like we feel a lot of emotion. So you got started working with this guy, and was it something significantly different than anything you'd ever done, or is it more just like kind of similar stuff, but you had that accountability and that support?
It was a very different method, I think. Um, the I think the genius of his coaching program is that switching to a healthy lifestyle is very difficult. Especially, I mean, if you watch you watch TV, every commercials for fast food or some kind of pizza or junk food, whatever. There's a lot of money behind junk food, and it is really hard to change habits like that. Um, it's I'm trying to think of the right way to put it. Well, all right, so ask me that again. What was my train of thought
Yeah,
with it?
sure. Well, it just seems like um, was the I'm because sometimes people think of like when we get coaching, there's
Mhm.
accountability and support, but there's also perhaps like new information, or
Oh, right. Okay.
he taught you
Yeah.
something different than you'd
Yeah.
been doing before.
Yeah. So the end result of the diet, is something that I had tried before for a few weeks at a time. Always felt awesome on it. Eating whole food, plant-based diet, very little processed food, no junk, pretty much. Like grains, vegetables, fruits, nuts, seeds, berries, that sort of thing.
That
So I
sounds
felt really good
weird.
on that.
That's
Yeah,
weird. It needs
it
to be
is
more
really weird.
complicated. It should be formulated in a lab and have
Exactly.
comes in
Well,
cans and
right, and a bar you could
a
eat,
bar. You gotta eat a bar.
before. Yeah, exactly. but but yeah, so the end result was kind of what I was expecting, but the method of doing it was a method of immersing you in the lifestyle, um, and changing it over a course of time to where my food preferences totally change over that course of time. The biggest problem people have when they lose weight is that they don't change their food preferences. So they get done losing weight and they go back to what they were eating before, and they go back to the same issues they had
Mm,
before. So part of this like 6 months I was losing weight was making sure that didn't happen when I was done losing weight. That
mm.
by the time I was done, my story was just rewritten, and this is the food that I would prefer, and it worked out exactly that way.
There's like a reset of what your body wants, what you hunger for.
Yeah, I mean, all food is habit. That's why if you travel internationally, you see stuff people eat in other countries that looks disgusting to you, but they love it, and they come here and they see some of the stuff we eat. It's all habit, and it's all preference that you gain over time.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. So now you naturally want to eat like fruits and vegetables and berries and seeds.
Exactly. I just
Yeah.
prefer to. And for breakfast this morning, I had a big giant bowl of oatmeal full of fruits and nuts, and it was awesome. I'm
Yeah.
not hungry at all. I haven't been hungry in a very long time, and I
Yeah.
have energy and feel great. I'm,
Yes, and I think
I'm ready to go
that's
for a hike after this.
nice. That's awesome, man. Me too. I'm actually gonna go walk and talk. That's what I love is because I have a similar way that I eat, and I try to eat like almost very little processed food, and yeah, plant-based whole foods. I'm every day. I've had the same smoothie, or I have two smoothies that I make, and I'll alternate them for the last years. Just maybe I'll change out the greens that are in them or the fruits, but it's the same kind of basic stuff. And what I love about it is it's like a generally kind of there's no crazy fluctuations in my energy. When we eat a lot of that heavy stuff or the processed stuff, it can be like, oh, it tastes so good in the moment. It's food for entertainment, right? Like, yeah. And then afterwards, it's like, oh. And I find if you eat the way that you're describing, that the energy is pretty sustained throughout the day without needing that.
Yeah, what's interesting? A while back, you mentioned that you had. I think the last event I was at live, I think you mentioned that you had stopped drinking coffee, um, and it had stabilized your energy through the day. And I was a big coffee drinker, and over the last few months, my just naturally, my taste for coffee has decreased. I got down to about a cup a day, and recently I've just switched to black tea because coffee's just stopped tasting right to me. And I think maybe just because I didn't need the energy from it as much, um,
Yeah.
I just don't enjoy it as much just for the flavor anymore.
Sure. Well, we can talk about fuel sources, right? And it's like if you are providing your body with like naturally sort of fiber dense, slow burning energy or fats
Mm.
from nuts and other stuff, like it drips out throughout the day. Whereas if we eat something that's sugar rush or whatever, well, all these things, and then what we do is we try to jack our energy with our adrenaline system. And I
Mm.
mean, we're not going to go after coffee here because we will get thrown out of the building. Coffee is
No,
coffee is the loved addiction of much of the world. But yeah, I personally have found that actually for me, no caffeine is what I've discovered is optimal because
mm,
I'm so sensitive to it that I found that even just that I just like, wait a minute, if I don't introduce that noise into the system, then I don't have uh, that dip. And I think that's something I'm always seeking is like, how do we have like high sustained energy? And so I actually got this thing. This is where it gets real crazy. I don't know if you can see that thing right there.
oh yeah.
It's called a biocharger. It is amazing. You can look it online, but like a lot of athletes and other stuff into it, it's like great for recovery in your body as well as energizing. It sort of feeds the cells in your body and emits like different frequencies
Hmm.
of electromagnetic energy and light energy and all these things. And it's like just finding these alternatives. Or as you know, I'm a fan of getting up and moving around to music and doing that multiple times throughout the day. And there's just so many different ways that we can energize. And I feel like that stuff, that thing, and then moving around and stuff doesn't work that well if your diet is really poor. Like the
Yeah.
diet is the foundation. So okay, this is sort of the nuts and bolts, but I mean, um, what was the amount of weight that you lost over? It was about how long a period? 6 month period? Eight
Six,
months?
a little less than 6 months.
Yeah,
It was something like 165 days or something like that. I lost 100 pounds.
100
And
pounds.
really, to be honest, my goal was about 98 pounds, but you can't stop at 98 pounds.
You
So
got to
I,
go for
I,
the
I, I went the extra two.
you got to go for the hundo. Wow, so 100 pounds in 6 months. People hear that and they might think, oh my gosh, that's got to be like a crash diet. You got to be fasting. You got to be doing weird stuff. Were you doing kind of extreme things?
A bit, in a control, never went longer than 24 hours without eating. I never did a long-term fast like I did. Like I've done in the past,
Sure,
back when I was trying anything.
sure. I
so,
want to fast. I want to go fast.
but at the same time, I think just as a society in general, we overeat. Um, we eat way more than we have to. And so part of the program was, figuring out how much I really needed to eat, which turned out to be a lot less than even I would have thought. And
Yeah,
so a lot of people would probably consider it extreme. And that's why I think it's so important to go through the program. The way it was introduced made it really easy to do.
sure, sure. Um, Yeah, I think that's really interesting. I've found uh, that there's a way. This is two interesting things I've noticed. One is that there's a way that I could eat as we get used to eating the amount of food that we eat, the
Mhm.
frequency, the quantities, as you said. Food is habit, eating is habit, which is just you nailed it in a sentence.
Yeah, frequency also, not just the amount of food, but a lot of us just eat 3 times a day, whether we're hungry or not.
Yeah, and what I've found is that sometimes, depending upon the season of the year or what's going on in my life, I'll be, I'll have periods of a lot more activity, and sometimes I find that I'm a lot more active, and I'm eating about the same amount of food as when I was a lot more sedentary, and I'm like, huh, did I really need that much energy when I was like, I'm sitting on my desk today? But we're just used to it, and these cues of hunger. And then it's funny because Candace and the boys are out of town right now, and so and I'm working a fair amount right now. And then if I'm not working, I'm basically just like being outside and moving, using my
Mm.
body. And I find I eat in the morning, and then I'm hungry by dinner. Maybe a little snack in the middle of the day. Whereas normally when the kids are home and everything, it's like, okay, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I'm coming in. I got to eat a fair amount of food for lunch, and I'm just like, wow. And here's another thing I found is that there's a way to go through life where you're never really hungry. You just you hit those meals regularly enough, and you eat enough of them that you go from like full to like I can eat again.
Right.
And if that's the experience, I think that's like too much. There's like you need to be like full. But I know some people say like never get hungry, snack a ton throughout the day. What are your thoughts
There's
on
nothing
that?
wrong. There's nothing wrong with getting a little hungry.
Yeah,
People fear hunger, and that's one advantage of a lot of the experimentation I did in the past. Um,
yeah,
just tried so many things that people think you can't do. I did a do not advise this, but I did a medically unsupervised solo 38-day water fast, which was a terrible idea. But I did it. I didn't die. But I didn't
why was
die.
it a terrible idea?
It's not recommended that you do a long-term water fast without medical supervision
Just to make sure that
because
your
for
blood
safe for,
and
for safety you
yeah,
can
something could be going
blood pressure
haywire.
can get too low, certain
Yeah,
nutrients can get too low.
yeah.
You could pass out and no one finds you,
Right.
that's that sort of thing. So it is recommended that you're
I
medically
I
supervised for
That is
for
shocking. I mean, I know you did that. I know you did that, but like, so you did 38 days, no food. Did you lose the weight that you were hoping to lose during that time?
Yeah, I mean, at the time, I think when I started, I was somewhere in the 270s. When I finished it, I was somewhere in like the high 220s. So I probably lost like 40, 50 pounds in 40 days, but 38 days. And then, as soon as you start eating again, you're going to regain 10 of that 'cause a lot of it's fluid and
Right. And probably a voracious appetite.
electrolytes and that sort of thing. Um, but I would say, once that evened out over the 38 days, I probably lost 25 pounds or so. But again, I didn't change my habits, and
So it's
so
slowly,
so so
yeah,
it just
kind of
slowly came back. Yeah,
regression back to that average, that mean.
exactly.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
found that I've done some sort of experiments with under eating intentionally when I was when I was in my era. I don't know what we would call that era, but it was the era of like I'm gonna get six pack abs. I'm gonna thank God I'm not in that era anymore. I want to be strong and fit and active, but I don't need to like manipulate my body chemistry into specific weird ways. Um, but uh, but I found that I would intentionally undereat and be more active, and then, yeah, I would get more definition and all that stuff. But then I would hit some point where it was just like, and I think it was because I was sustaining a weight that was below what my body naturally wants to do to be active and strong and healthy. And I would just like something would kick in. It would be like these primal booster jets that were like, we're going to get you back to that weight now. And it was like
Mhm.
all the control and everything I was exercising for months was just like slowly eroded away. And I feel like there's something inside that if, uh, and maybe someone could sustain that underweight thing, but for me, that was pretty unpleasant.
I think something my coach talks about a lot because he's a scientist, and he talks about how billions of years of evolution have caused us to seek food and not to allow ourselves to get you know too underweight because that's a terrible way to survive and
Yeah.
in an environment where there's not food available 24/7.
Yeah. So let me ask you this question. You've had this big transformation in your physical, health, physical
Mhm.
appearance, energy level. What does this open up for you? Like how is life different beyond just you know, the obvious stuff? Like I look different, my energy's different. What does that lead to? What does that open up in your life, in your relationships, and what you see for yourself?
Well, it definitely, health wise, it's been, you know, a huge thing. And it's funny how quickly, just kind of get used to the new thing and take it for granted. But like, the biggest thing is, how I just feel all the time. and which is, I don't always feel like I want to go to sleep, and and I can focus a little bit, and that sort of thing. Still not great, but way better than before. And so I feel like, on that level, that there's stuff I could take on that I wanted to. I've always wanted to. I live in Utah. It's a beautiful country, and I do love hiking, but I've never, really done a lot of exploring more difficult hikes because, even though I was in relatively good shape for, a fat guy, it's still hard to lug an extra 100
It's a
pounds
lot
up a
of
mountain.
weight. It's a lot of weight. It's
Yeah,
like a big backpack.
yeah, an extra 100 pounds up a mountain is just not.
Those body vests you can wear, like
Yeah,
carry an extra 40 pounds. I have 40, 50 pounds. What do they call
yeah.
them? The
And I
weighted
was so,
vests.
I was wearing two of those.
That's intense. I've
Yeah.
worn one and it blew me out. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm excited to, like, this spring get a bike. I'm gonna get a snowboard and get back to doing that next year. So physically, I'm really excited about taking advantage of where I live even more, and enjoying those things. I don't think it's a coincidence that a few months into it, I decided, after 20 years in the mortgage business, to finally start my own brokerage, go off my own independent. And so I think that, I don't know that necessarily, this is a tough one, because I've been working on my confidence for a long time, and so I don't know how much extra confidence I draw from just the difference in my appearance, but at the same time, I do feel a lot more confident in, I don't know, like, in in my ability to do something
Yes.
difficult, if I just show up every day and keep doing it and plug away at it.
Yeah.
I read a couple of great books, about a year ago, Atomic Habits and The Slight Edge, both of them about, just making minor changes but doing it every single day and never showing up. And that was a huge part of the success in the weight loss too. Was I never had a cheat meal in the whole 6 months. So that wasn't a thing. There's no, hey, 6 days on and you get some days off. I mean, I was accountable 24/7.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and so just seeing the results of doing something that wasn't that difficult, but doing it every single day and seeing the cumulative results kind of let me know, hey, you can do this in all kinds of different things. You can do the same kind of thing. And so I've always been intimidated by running a mortgage business on my own. All the management stuff that
Mm.
I've always avoided, haven't been interested in learning about, and felt like I probably wasn't organized to do well.
Mm.
So I had to take it on and figure out as I go along. So I think that was definitely a side effect, and overall confidence in just my ability to do things that I really didn't think were possible before.
Yeah. Oh man, that's
It's changed.
exciting.
Yeah, it's changed the stories I tell myself. As you and
Yes.
and and Ray say.
And that's the real gift, right? There's sort of the outcome, which can be great, looking a certain way or unlocking a certain level of physical health is really cool. And any goal, the old saying is that it's about who we become on the way rather than the specific achievement. And so it unlocks something for you. It unlocks you being more you. And I do think that the confidence work that we've been doing together for years, and you've been just like taking it and from the mastermind, and then just like, okay, I'm going to apply this here, I'm going to apply this here, I'm going to apply this here. But what I see that as is a process of shedding away anything that is not you.
Mhm.
So you get more and more like, this is who I am, this is what I'm here to do. This, and it's a moving target, but you're just more on track, on purpose. And I think what's cool to see is these patterns. And I've seen the same patterns in my own life. It's like, oh, there's something I want to do. I study it. I make incremental progress on it each day or regularly, and I get coaching support and guidance. That's my formula.
Mhm.
And I do that in everything. And it's just like, it's my natural way of approaching something. Um, and so super exciting.
Yeah,
And
coaching is so incredibly important. Um, and just in my time in the mastermind, it's also how much you immerse yourself in that coaching. But the times where I've immersed myself the most, I've made the most rapid progress, and other times stepped away a little bit and progress slows down. It's all about consistency and making progress every single day.
yeah, yeah. And it's like an energy thing, right? Like where we put our focus and our energy kind of naturally grows and expands. So
Yeah.
do I put it on this group and myself and my life, what I want to focus on, and or am I getting pulled other places? So it's so cool, man. I am just so delighted and so proud of you, and that this is one change among many, and yet this one, each one of them, right? And this one is so they're all worth acknowledging. They're all worth celebrating, and this one especially, given the persistence of like again, 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 and there are many people who try something 2 times, 5 times, 7 times, and then they really say, "Okay, I'm that's it. That's it. This is who I am. This is my identity." And
Mhm.
I'm just like, I can't, and it gets locked in. And what I love about you is like, there's a part of you that's like unstoppable, and it's like, we're gonna come at a different angle, different angle, different angle, different angle, different angle, and then all of a sudden, boom, achievement unlocked, life unlocked. Hiking
Yeah,
in
I think
Utah
it's a.
unlocked.
I mean, I will bang my head against the wall for a very long time before I finally, get it right. But I'll keep doing it. And one thing I did want to say, because it's probably been the biggest, most important thing, and this is just without me even, because my coach, as you know, when I was losing weight, I wasn't allowed to talk about what I was doing. I wasn't supposed to, get in conversations about it, be influenced by anybody, try to influence anybody else, and so, but
Nice.
just by doing what I did, and about 3 months in, my wife decided to follow my example, and she started working with my coach, and she's down about 40 pounds now. My kids have, improved their diet, just seeing the way we eat in the house, what we have. My oldest teenager, she's 17, and like, she'll make herself tofu and broccoli stir fry for dinner sometimes. Other times she'll eat cookies and junk, but her diet's improved a ton in the last 6 months. And so, you know that's, I think, the most satisfying part to me is just
Mm.
kind of like, as Ray always says, be a lighthouse, not a tugboat. And I love that, like, be an example instead of trying to tell people what to do and what they should do. Just do it, and people will see the results and hopefully want them for themselves.
Yeah, I love that. Be a lighthouse, not a tugboat, and just you emit light and possibility, and it inspires others and it influences others. And I'd imagine that feels really gratifying to have your own growth also turn into contribution, which is
Yeah,
so rewarding. Yeah, that's so cool, man. Oh, Dave, thank you so much for
thank
sharing
you.
with us and inspiring us. And I can't wait to see uh, the next adventure, the next
All right,
breakthrough.
we'll figure out what that is, and I'll let you know.
Mortgage business is certainly on the.
That's the current one.
That's the current one. This is the next one. Ultra endurance in Utah. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I'm the next Rick Roll. Rick Roll.
That's right.
Be doing triple Ironmans by
Oh
next year.
yeah, it's a natural evolution. All right, brother. Thanks for being with Sharon.
All right, talk to you soon.